to hold this. Do you know what I mean? They've already put the other one in the safe just in case. We're going to take the shortest of break, during which I will caress the Sam, and we're going to be back with you in a moment. We've got... welcome back, and you know that we still have a lot of chat with our audience from Conna in County Cork, and Mary Sheridan de Bruyne in full warble, no better woman to give the beautiful dreamer a gentle awakening. However, first we head for the Live at 3 kitchen to look at the utensils from a different age, not a battery or a plug in sight. In the kitchen, here's Anne O'Dwyer.
Yes, indeed, Derek. I've got a lovely collection of items to show you today. And to help me show these, in fact, he's going to do all the showing, is Pat Lynch from Ballymacoda. Isn't that right, Pat?
That's right.
Yeah, well, now, your collection, the last time you were here, you showed us a collection of irons, all sorts of irons. But this time, it's going to be kitchen utensils.
It is stuff mainly dealing with food preparation in the kitchen,
yeah.
Mainly from the last century.
Okay, well, let's start off with your first one.
Okay, well, this first one here is a salt box, which you would keep hanging by the fire, keep the salt nice and dry. Salt, of course, absorbs moisture, but nowadays there's an additive in salt to keep it free-flowing, so we don't need those things. The second little box I have here is a Victorian spice box. Now, spices were used extensively in England in the 17th, 18th and 19th centuries, and were very often used not only to enhance the flavour, but to disguise the fact that meat might be gone off, obviously, which happened quite often in days before refrigeration. Yeah, that's a little nutmeg grater which comes with the thing.
And of course, I see you've got their whole nutmegs. And
we have indeed.
And what's that? Would that be salt?
Or isinglass or something, I'm not sure really. Yeah.
It's very interesting. But that's a lovely little box. It's a lovely piece, isn't it?
It is indeed, very nice.
And that would obviously be kept near the heat as well, I suppose.
Well, in some dry place anyway.
Yeah.
Now we come to a mortar and pestle, the mortar being the bowl part of it. Now these were used in the kitchen, were a very important kitchen item from Roman times right through the ages, down to modern times with the...
Yeah. In fact, you now have the little new modern ones that have you can buy them
garlic and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, sugar is something that would have been crushed in the mortar as well, because sugar was originally introduced to England in by the returning Crusaders around the 12th century.
Yeah, but it didn't come as loose sugar in those days.
Well, no, but it came as a hard sugar loaf, really, and wasn't ground as it is today. Now, to grind it down, you knock chunks off it with one of these gadgets here. This is a sugar cutter. And this is the cutting point here. So you've knocked chunks off the big block. And this was a similar gadget to knock little chunks off it as well. You could either wrap them off with the sides or pinch them off here with this. Now, these chunks will then be pounded down in the mortar to granulate the sugar as we have it today. And finally, these little small fellas here were also dealing with sugar. If you put some sugar on a sweet after dinner and there were still some little hard lumps on it, you got one of these and you crushed the sugar piece with either the top of the little device or with the flat part here.
Yeah, in other words, that was almost as important as a knife and fork on the table.
It was. You'd have it just by your plate as well, just in case you did get any of these little sugar lumps in your sweet.
Well, now you have two things that look rather like knives of some kind, aren't
they? Well, they are chopping knives, in fact, and they came in all sorts and sizes and shapes. They're designed in such a way as well that you knock your knuckles off the table as you cut the thing. This curved one here is also useful for chopping, say, herbs in a bowl or in the mortar, for instance. It just fits nicely into it.
Yeah, and I suppose they'd have been all sizes and shapes.
They would, in different designs as well.
And what about this? That's a rather intriguing looking one.
This little fella here is actually a cucumber slicer, and this little blade is set here just to cut very thin slices. You just run the cucumber down the board and you get your nice little cucumber slices.
That would have been very important for the cucumber sandwiches,
wouldn't it?
Very, very important. Now, what is this rather large?
Yeah, well, various implements came out around towards the end of the last century. Mechanical things to cut and chop and grate, and very often designed for one specific end purpose. Now, this one was designed by a crowd called Fellows and Bates to cut oranges to make marmalade. Now, you ram the skins in here using this block, and then by moving this handle over and back, there's a blade attachment on the back, and as you move it over and back, it cut the orange skins.
The orange skins, yeah.
So it was a very effective and very efficient way of cutting orange skins. They subsequently produced another model, the same company, Fellows and Bates, in the 1930s, and it was the rapid cutter, and this time it was done with a rotary blade, which was quicker than the other one, and as you turn the handle, the little blades cut the ordinary
I think they
skins.
call that the rapid marmalade cutter.
Exactly, yeah.
And what price would that have been around?
Around the 1930s, that would have cost you 7 and 6pence. That's about 37 and a half
That was
pence.
quite a lot of money in those days, wasn't it?
But it was to be certainly a day's pay at
Days
least.
or more,
Yeah,
indeed,
in
good.
those days.
Yeah, well now, what about, oh yes, let's go
There's
to
a
this
fella
little one
here.
here.
That's a little French bean slicer and dates from about 1890. You've got little disc blades here, and as you turn the handle there, these little discs
going round.
cut the French beans, which you ram into the top part of it here. You know.
That's a very familiar little one. I mean, there's certainly things very like that nowadays.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
What was made in cast iron before is now made in plastic.
That's right.
So that,
yeah.
this
Now,
fella
what was
is
that one?
a breadcrumb grater, and for 2 and 9pence you'd have bought this in 1907. You put the bread in here, and there's a disc inside it, and as you turn the handle it rotates, and it has perforations, and it's to grate the bread with the breadcrumbs.
That again is very familiar. But now here, what is this thing here, this rather large looking
Yeah, that is
object?
a potato peeler. You put the potatoes into this container and turn the handle, and they're rotated inside.
Yeah.
Now, just take off the cover for a moment. The inside is covered with chips of hard enamel, and as the potatoes whirl around inside,
It's very rough, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It scraped the skin off the potatoes.
Yeah. I'd imagine that would have been rather wasteful, wouldn't it?
It was, because if the potatoes were uneven, as they will be, it was scraping off the potato off as well as skin. And it was a very messy business as well, in actual fact.
I often think even the modern potato peelers are a bit like that. They're rather wasteful.
Yeah.
Now, what do we have here? This is a...
Well, this is fairly recognisable, I think.
It is
It is a fairly ponderous affair, but it's actually just a potato chipper. You put your spud in here, pull down the handle,
Down it
and you
goes.
make your chips in one pull of the handle.
And another very recognisable one is the masher, isn't it?
Yes, it's a potato masher, and you just put your potato in here again.
But it's so
And
solid.
when you pull down the handle, it squashes the potatoes out through these little holes here. It's actually called a potato ricer. Yeah.
Well, now, let's have a quick look at this one. This is your corned beef cutter.
It is, yeah, for either tongue or corned beef. Now, you put the tongue into it here, and it has a false bottom. As you turn the handle at the side, the false bottom, you can either raise it or lower it. So you bring the tongue to the level of the top of the crock here, and then you give one more crank of the handle.
And you cut a nice slice.
Cut a slice off the top, and then crank it again and cut another slice.
Okay, let's look to the jelly mould down there, because that's a very unusual and beautiful little piece.
It is a lovely little item. Now, jelly moulds were made in Staffordshire from the 1730s, but jelly didn't become widely used until the last century, really. Initially, it was more or less the well-to-do people had it, and they were more concerned with the appearance and colour rather than the taste. But in the last century, they were made in all shapes and sizes and materials. That's a very nice one.
That's a beautiful one.
Tin and copper design part on top. It's very nice.
Well, now, tell us about this lovely little tin opener, because that's a beautiful...
Oh yes, the can opener here. The original can openers came with a bull's head design. This was because they came with cans of bully beef, which was really corned beef.
Yeah.
Now, the canning process was patented by a fellow called Peter Durant in England in 1810, and the first canning factory was opened in England, in London, in 1812. Now, the thing is, this can opener wasn't designed until the 1860s.
Well, how on earth did they open the cans then before
Well,
that?
this was a major problem, and the instruction on the can very often read, "Open with a chisel and hammer." So it wasn't as
That would have
easy.
been quite hectic.
Yeah.
Then there's just this one last. He's a beauty, another little
That's
can
another
opener.
little...
Yeah, and that's the bull's head, and he's also got his little tail.
He has an actual fact.
Yeah, but that's lovely. Pat, thank you for bringing us in all these things. They're so intriguing, and they're marvellous to see, and marvellous that you've managed to collect so many. And you're still collecting, are you?
Oh, I'm collecting all the time. I am. It's my full-time hobby.
Maybe you'll come back again and show us some other interesting items. So there you have it, our collection for this week, and I think it is really a gem. So thank you very much to Pat Lynch for showing them all to us. Now, perhaps some of you out there might have an interesting collection which we might like to show our viewers. So if you have, drop us a line and tell us about it. So back to you, Thelma.
Thanks a million.